chances are that you don't have a computer beefy enough to run PUBG at decent frame rates at 1080p, and since all your friends are playing it, you think this is a great time to upgrade your PC. Good news, here I'll show you how to do exactly that if you're on a tight budget. Please note that all these parts are budget oriented and will let you play games like PUBG at 1080p. But for 60 FPS, you have to be willing to drop down a few settings. Do not expect buttery smooth gameplay at ultra settings from a budget oriented build. The ideal CPU for playing PUBG and similar games is the Ryzen 3 1200. It is not super high end and so it will not cost you much. This is a quad-core CPU which requires the AM4 socket and DDR4 memory. If you're interested, here are the technical details of the processor. Please note that this CPU is not locked down. You can overclock this up to 4 GHz. However, for low-end gaming purposes, it is pretty unnecessary as it will not give you a significant FPS boost, especially when paired with a budget/mid-range graphics card. Even for the most demanding titles out there, you don't need to have system memory more than 8 gigs. No game uses more than 8 gigs of RAM, so do not spend extra money for 16 gigs or more. There's no specific brand I want you to go with, go for whatever is cheapest. Also, note that you don't need super fast RAM if you have a discrete graphics card. DDR4 2400 MHz is fine for gaming. You can of course go for faster RAM if it comes in around a similar price. If you want to save some money, go for RAM sticks which do not have those fancy heat spreaders. For the motherboard, I don't have a particular choice. Just as I said, you won't likely need to overclock the CPU if you just want to play games. So, going for a motherboard which has overclock facilities will cost you more for nothing. So I recommend you go for whatever comes in at the cheapest. The motherboards having an A320 chip do not have overclock facilities and will come in at significantly cheaper prices. The ones having B350 chips are rather costly and will have overclock facilities. Also, you most likely won't need to upgrade your RAM any further in the near future for gaming, so you don't need to have a motherboard with 4 RAM slots instead of 2. The graphics card, no doubt, is the most important part when it comes to gaming, so you should save up a little and invest in a decent one. That said, the best you can do on a budget is the GTX 1050 Ti. It comes in at around 14,000 rupees and will let you play PUBG at 1080p at 60 FPS but with low settings. There are a bunch of 1050 Ti's out there, but one is not much different than the other because the graphics processor in all those cards is the same at the end of the day. Go for the one which is available at the cheapest. You don't need to buy factory overclock cards which cost more. Instead, buy a low profile one and overclock it yourself. The GTX 1050 Ti is a very power efficient card and so you don't need to worry about the cooling should you decide to overclock it. A single fan is enough. An 80+ rated 450W power supply should be enough. In India, the cheapest you can get is the Corsair VS450. So there you have it. All of these is going to cost around 35,000. As mentioned earlier, you can easily play PUBG with low settings at 60 FPS. Overclocking the GPU of course will help you get more FPS or bump up your settings for the same frame rate. That said, if you have a few more bucks to spare, go for a B350 motherboard instead of an A320 one. Also, you may opt to choose the Ryzen 3 1300X instead of the 1200. It gives you slightly better performance for a slightly more price. The Ryzen CPUs are best when overclocked, so that will give your system a bit of future-proofing. If you decide to buy a better card in the future, you don't have to look for a better CPU as an overclocked Ryzen is a beast already. Also, you may want to go with a power supply of 550W or so if you can spend a little more. This is similarly going to allow you some upgrade headroom. Thanks for watching. This is TGD signing off. Peace.